Is it loaded now? Hello. So the last so the last 5 minutes of us talking was not recorded, but that's all right because we can pick right back up where we left off. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to talk about JK Rowling today because of the recent controversies resurfacing because of the new Hogwarts Legacy coming out. And we were mentioning how it's been about almost 3 years of ridiculous bullshit coming out of her mouth that has been documented. Once again, resurfacing with the new game release. And so Eve and I thought it would be interesting to talk about because of the new game release and our personal opinions on it is that it's really not that hard to not buy a game from a transphobic person. And everybody's like, oh, well, she's not directly involved in it. And it's like, she still gets royalty checks, babes. Like, it's still happening. And it's really not that hard to not play a game, especially when there are tons of others in the series that have come out over the years, which we were just mentioning, are crazy easy to find online. So I don't even have to buy those anymore, you know? Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember playing it when I was younger too, and that was a really fun game. And I think the whole draw for Hogwarts Legacy was how like new it was, and they thought the graphics were going to be better. But I've only seen exactly, and I've only have seen like playthroughs of people that have like uploaded re-uploaded clips online and stuff. But I've heard people saying that the quality is not as good as they thought it was going to be, and the gameplay actually is kind of sucky for how it should be in this day and age. So it's like, is it really that hard to not support a transphobic person on a stupid game where there's tons of different alternatives? Really? Yeah. Mhm. 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 I could definitely see both sides. Yeah, I can definitely see both sides of that argument that you just brought up. Like, there's absolutely people on both sides who are supporting it and not supporting it just for those reasons, not even just for the game itself, which in it within itself is a problem, is an issue, because I feel like that's just a lot of things nowadays where like transphobic person or racist or homophobic person like releases something, there will be tons of supporters who probably in the past, like the recent past, would not even give a shit about these people. But because it's become, yeah, but because it's become such an argument and like such a like oh to own, like you just said, to own the libs and to not perpetuate all this craziness that Fox News has poisoned people's brains with. Now they think that like supporting these people is giving them a voice and doing whatever. Like, we will not be silenced, they say as they're streaming from on live national television. Exactly. Hmm. Exactly. And like, I don't know, just going based off of that too, like, not only is it that like extremist side, but then there's the side of people who you were kind of mentioning earlier, like the teens who are kind of ignorant on the thing. But then I've also seen people who are around our age or a little bit younger and still saying, hey, like, I just wanted to support the developers of the game and the artists and the animators and, like everybody who made this game a reality. Like, that's why I bought it. And it's like, no, they already got their checks. They got their checks for making the game. They're not getting they're not getting anything after the game's been released. So that argument makes no sense and it's bullshit. It's just say you care about this game more than you care about your trans friends or brothers and sisters if you're trans yourself. Exactly. Hmm. Yeah, but yeah, like keep a safe distance, but shout it into a microphone so that we can hear how transphobic you are. Like, if you're gonna be loud and proud about it, you might as well be open and honest about it. And scream it. Don't hide behind oh, well, I wanted to support the developers, or, oh, it was my childhood. I grew up with it, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, like, hello? And I feel like it's most, and I feel like it's mainly millennials who are like that. They're like, my Hogwarts house. This is what I grew up with. And it's like, okay, I know a ton of people who listened, myself included, who listened to popular artists at the time that suck now. Like, I was in the scene kid community back in my day. And um, obviously, Blood on the Dance Floor wound up being really controversial. But at the time, like, no one was really talking about that kind of stuff. And because of that, I don't support them anymore. Like, I'm not like, whoa, yeah, they were my childhood. Like, I feel so nostalgic for them. Like, no, I'm not going to talk about them because Dobby Vanity sucks? It's, mhm. He said watching the books. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, like, again, I have no issue with people rewatching them if you've already bought them or like the books or are getting them secondhand from somebody else or you're pirating them. Like, that's not my beef. You're no longer giving this person your money, and I do understand the nostalgia behind it. But for things like the newer games where you're just directly ignoring the issue here and being like, well, it's my childhood. Okay, then go reread the books. Go rewatch the movies because I know you guys already had both of those things if you're such big fans. You know what I mean? Hmm. Hmm. And it's not just like because she's directly attacking trans people, like any random person does that's transphobic does that every day, like, but it's because she's so famous and widely known, and it's not like this stuff is a secret. It's not like she's saying these things in her personal life, and now it's like through word of mouth. She's directly tweeting these things, openly supporting other turf like artists. Well, Harry Potter World down in Orlando, like shit like that. This is not a small niche artist who's just transphobic and has like maybe a couple thousand followers. This is somebody who has millions of followers and is reaching people who are super young because of the genre that she's in. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, like she didn't mean it that way. Like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. She was just saying that she doesn't really like them. It's not that she hates trans people or anything, and it's like besties. Yeah, like people would be. What, am I supposed to like everyone just because they're trans? Like, hmm. And like you said, like it could be she could make a sign in bright neon lights that say "I am transphobic," and people would still jump through hoops trying to defend her and mention that that's not her point. Yeah, like is this the hill we're gonna die on? Come on, y'all. Like, really? Um. So just a really quick interval. Bridget did say that you're a little bit lower. So is your mic output good? Technical difficulties are all too common. Are all too common here.
Okay, so I did a thing. Um, Bree says we're freezing. Oh no. I know we're dropping frames here
Freaking,
and there, but like freezing? Hmm.
freaking rats.
All right, I'm gonna hop over to Singapore here.
Oh, Bridget said that they can hear you now.
Ah, wonderful. Um, as for the freezing, it doesn't look like we're dropping more frames than normal, so I guess
Okay.
I'm gonna have to see what happens after the stream. Sorry, Bree.
Yeah, Bridget said the freezing isn't terrible on their end, so
Okay, good.
maybe it's.
Because even the core episode we
So,
had some on off going back, but I didn't think it was too
yeah.
noticeable.
Mhm. Bree said I can hear Eve too, so audio's good now?
Looks like it. I actually because some feedback I gotten was that like your voice is like overpowering almost, so I turned it down just a little bit. Are we like balanced now?
Hmm.
Are we good?
Yeah, let us know if our voices are kind of in the same range now. Also, have you guys not been able to hear Eve the whole time, or has he just been lower?
So my mic here
Bridget?
on OBS was set to default, so I don't know if that means like my mic or my onboard mic. So I just switched it to this one, and it looks like that did the trick.
Okay. Okay, cool. Bridget said the freezing is a little annoying on their end, but can hear most of it. So, are
Okay.
you in your basement again?
No,
Okay.
I'm right by my the old router. Not too close, because that ruins things.
Because on Discord, my connection was a little shaky at first, but now it's good. I don't know if it might be because my brother's also playing a game right now. I don't think he's streaming, but he's playing a
Yeah,
game, so I
even
don't know
my
if my
cousin, like, she's
internet's.
on a Wi-Fi call, so that could be it also.
Uh,
And then I did try like a ping test to see like how often we lose connection to check how stable the connection is. Um, some drops here and there, but it was like mostly stable. I think this is as good
okay.
as it's gonna get for now.
Yeah, I agree. And as long as our mics are balanced, that's really more what I care about than if we cut out every couple of minutes, like for a few seconds. But Bree said they're balanced on her end.
Wonderful.
Beautiful. Um, yeah, so I hope you were able to be heard the first like 15 minutes of this because it was a pretty darn good conversation in
I
my
had some
opinion.
good takes, yeah.
Yeah, shit.
I could
Well,
always go back
anyway,
and edit it if worse comes to worse.
yeah, that's a good point. But all right, we'll get back on track now. So sorry about that. Thanks for bearing with us. Still learning,
And
still
thanks
a
for the
learning curve.
feedback from Bridget and
Yeah, seriously.
our moderator, your moderator and mine.
Exactly, because we would have had no idea. So we appreciate it. Thank you. Um, but yeah. So anyway, back to transphobic JK Rowling.
I think it's funny that
So
sorry, I think it's funny that Joanne is a transphobe when she herself made a fake name, so people wouldn't know she was a woman.
yeah, and is so proud about being a woman and always like her argument. I feel like most of the time is that like her main argument is that trans women aren't women, and because of that she's always like we're losing our femininity, like women are defined a certain way and like are x y and z, yet in reality you went under a pseudonym because you weren't embracing the fact that you were a woman.
Oops. How does she define a
Oops.
woman? Because I know she has those tweets that are like, oh, people who menstruate. But, like, is that it to her?
Yeah, I think it's I honestly think so. Like that's I feel like most turfs. By the way, for people who are listening, if you don't know what a TERF is, it's trans exclusionary radical feminist. So it's basically cis female feminists, they're usually white, who say that trans women aren't a part of, or aren't women, so that
They don't
they're
get
not a part of like
rights.
femininity. Yeah, exactly. They're not a part of the feminist movement because they were male. So because of that, they experience male privilege even now. Which, if you've ever met a trans woman or heard a story about a trans woman, it's just not true.
Yeah,
But
that doesn't
anyways,
line up to me. But go on.
yeah, we'll get back into that. But anyway, so her argument usually is like, oh, people with a uterus, like people who menstruate, and she's always like, like when like words are used that way in like articles online and stuff, or people who are just talking about the concept as a whole. Like she'll always be like, people who menstruate, like we know, isn't there a word for that? Like women, like as if everyone who menstruates is a woman. Exactly. Like there was a tweet she made in 2020, which I believe was kind of the start of all of this, and it was about the quote unquote people who menstruate. She put that in quotes in her tweet. I'll read it word for word. She said, I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. Wombin, wimpund, wombud. Those are just
Very funny.
new Harry Potter character names. Like,
Yeah, she's
that's how
trying
she
them
gets
out.
her. That's how she gets her new names.
She
But
makes sounds with her mouth and she's like, let me write that down.
Harry Potter. That
That's
sounds
how
like a
she
name
came
to
up
me.
with Cho Chang. I still can't believe
Yeah,
that
that
shit,
was a
dude.
real That was a real creative one on her end, huh?
Or one Asian character. Even I was a kid, I was like, Cho Chang? Is that a real
Yeah,
name?
like I think everybody was kind of like, bro, are we
What?
dead ass right now? You can write about the intricacies of a fake fantasy world, but you can't look up one
You
traditional
can't
like
come up
Asian
with
name.
names. Holy
Like,
shit, woman.
hello? I love those tweets where they like over exaggerate names and make them sound racist, and they're like, and then people will comment and be like, "JK Rowling is going to use this in her next book."
Yeah. Uh,
Oh,
first trans wizard. It's like Surfem. Uh,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Ridiculous. So I don't know. I remember as a kid also outing myself watching a Harry Potter musical. Yeah, I was that kind of a kid, uh, a Glee kid, if you will. A
Hmm.
Glee, haha. Yeah, it's embarrassing, and I'm outing myself now. Might as well get it out of the way before we build a fan base. But anyway, I watched a Harry Potter musical because of that, and they make references to the fact that Cho Chang's name is pretty racist, and they do it by over exaggerating her
Oh.
character, and like they make her like sing a song and act like, they're like, bro, come on now, like they over exaggerate her character with stereotypes too because of that reason.
Oh, so they do it in the movie. Not the movie, the musical.
Yeah, well, Harry Potter musical was fan made, so it was a bunch of like college kids.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Hmm. Yeah, so Darren Criss plays Harry Potter in it, and he was Blaine on Glee. So people who were fans of him and like knew him before he went on Glee, and then people who liked Glee and recognized him or thought he was cool sought out more by him. So then that kind of like a Harry Potter musical did get pretty popular when it first came out, but then as soon as he was like on national television, it like skyrocketed, and now that they're called like Star Kid Productions, and they actually do musicals that they've written themselves now. But Darren's not a part of it anymore because he's too famous now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
back to how
I mean, they're
oh, sorry.
no. I was just gonna say, yeah, their whole thing in a Harry Potter musical was making fun of like the ridiculous things that J.K. Rowling had said or written about, like, So anyway, back to
I'm
her
into
though.
that. The college
Hmm.
kids like taking the piss out of Rowling in one of her musicals, or a musical based on one of her
Hmm.
properties. I just think that's funny.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty funny, even looking back on it. But anyway, back to her transphobic tweets
Yeah,
that
back to
kind
how trans men aren't real women or something like that.
of. Yeah. So yeah, which her argument is that um, Bridget is indeed calling me out for how normal I totally am about liking Darren Criss. Like, I'm definitely not a fan girl or anything. I totally
Hmm.
like him a normal amount.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My bad. Anyway, but yeah, so her definition has traditionally been like women are people who menstruate or have uteruses and whatnot, which, as we all know, well, not all of us, as us big brained people know, that's not true.
You
And
gotta be careful with that logic, cause like, can't you get surgery so that you can get a uterus and menstruate?
you can't menstruate or like implant a uterus into somebody who, I believe, it was born male. But the other argument people use is that there's tons of cis women out there who get
Who
hysterectomies,
don't?
and
Yeah.
yeah, who one don't menstruate even if they have a uterus because they have other hormonal issues, or two get a hysterectomy for age, cancer, like whatever it could be. So now they no longer have a uterus and no longer menstruate. And they're like, hey, but I was born a woman, so now you're saying that I'm less of one
Nope.
because I don't have a
Nope.
uterus?
No longer a woman. Sorry.
Nope. Bree's also
Chris and
calling me
Perri
out
sitting
about
in the
that.
tree. Yeah, I was about
Okay,
to
chill.
say.
He was my ringtone. when I was younger.
Oh, you're making it worse.
I know. I gotta stop outing myself. Okay. Um. Anyway.
All right then.
Yeah. So obviously, not only does that ostracize trans women, but it ostracizes cis women who no longer have a uterus or don't menstruate in general, and it demeans women into their whole livelihood and who they are and what makes them a woman is whether or not they can have children. Because let's be real, that's what it's used for.
Mm-hmm.
Like saying you're not a woman because you don't have a uterus. So you're saying I'm a woman because, or I'm not a woman because I can't have kids. What about all the cis women out there who can't have kids, and or can have them but choose not to, and essentially don't, in her definition, use their uterus. So it's like that argument just falls apart.
What about women that adopt?
Uh, not a woman unless if
Yeah,
there's no
just
uterus
not.
there, not a woman. Even
I
if you
have
have kids,
two mommies. And JK's like, no, you have none. No mommies.
no mommies for you. Uh, no wenches for you. And like not only that, but what about the women who have children and then later in life get a hysterectomy? Are they no longer women anymore?
It's like
Like,
Schrodinger's women at that point.
yeah. Just picking
You
and
can't
choosing
have
women.
children. You're not a woman. But I had a child.
Back to the drawing board.
No further
The
questions.
transphobic drawing. The transphobic drawing board is just JK Rowling's journal.
Mm-hmm. It's her Twitter account.
Her live journal. Yeah, so that's a really bad argument, not just on her part, but on any transphobe's part, because women are not just uteruses and not just menstruation and not just having children. There are plenty of cis women out there who can't do those things, don't want to do those things, um, or later in life can't do them as they once could. So, terrible argument. She's just a turf.
I'm just imagining like JK Rowling's her PR team just like, we're gonna take away your phone until you stop like saying stupid shit online. It's JK's like seething. She's like, I have to these ideas. I have to get them out. And she goes on her laptop. They're like, hey, stop, stop that. What did we tell
They
you?
hit her with a roller.
Like a paper towel roll. Like, no.
Bad dog. Bad JK Rowling. Down.
It has to be the most thankless job ever. Like, please, please, please stop posting on Twitter. We're trying to make you money.
It's the fucking image of the guy crying and then the woman, and it's like, please, JK Rowling, please stop tweeting.
Stop saying
and she's like,
stupid
no.
shit. You're not even making sense.
And she's like, no, trans women aren't women.
I was thinking of the one of like the girl sitting on the guy's lap, and it's like, babe, can you please touch me? And he's like, no, I have to tell people that trans women aren't women.
Yeah, it reminds me of that TikTok audio too that was like, yeah, hold on, babe, I'll come to bed soon. I'm doing my online banking. And then it's like, fuck, that's so hot. It's just the opposite. She's like, hold on, I have a PR team. I gotta tweet transphobic stuff. And they're like, fuck, you're an idiot.
Babe, please stop saying dumbass things. You're not even making sense.
No. Anyway.
No. The Chad, no.
Anyway, Hermione would say that trans women aren't women.
Oh, yeah, she would. That's her self-insert character, isn't it?
Is it?
I don't know if it's been confirmed outright, but like she definitely said like Hermione is based on qualities that she herself has, which is really
Stop.
weird because like almost everybody at every opportunity takes the time to describe how like clever she is, and Hermione is so cool and awesome and special. I think clever is like the best thing a person can be to her, because like anytime she wants to give a character glowing praise, she'll throw the word clever in there. So, when you add these things together, I think it's pretty easy to have the idea that she's a self-insert. Um, I'm sure
Yeah,
there's
that's
a
a
lot
good
of
point.
qualities that I'm sure Hermione has a lot of qualities that JK wishes she had, but I don't think she has them all.
Which is funny because also at first like Hermione seems a bit annoying. Like
Annoying.
people are a bit annoyed by how like smart she is. And it's like if she's a self-insert character, that makes so much sense. But people
Yeah,
probably didn't dislike her because she was so smart. People probably disliked her because she's so fucking
I'm sure
annoying, but
she would
thought
like.
she was smart.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what she would think though. She's projecting like
Hmm.
how it was growing up at her boarding school or whatever.
Yeah,
They called
I
me
can
a
only imagine.
know-it-all. It's like, yeah, you probably were. Given how you act now, I can believe it.
Yeah, I mean, clearly she's not a know-it-all anymore. She thinks trans women aren't women. So,
She's a know-it
but
none.
yeah, that, that's my headcanon for her. She's a know-it none.
I think it's really weird if you go run with the idea that Hermione is a self-insert. I think that's really weird given the whole house elf subplot. Is it time to talk about
Oh,
that?
yeah, and I also think it's funny. Like, just quick side note before we get into the house elf stuff, that if Hermione is a self-insert character, that she gave herself the two main boys as her love interests. Like,
Hmm.
she like the whole oh my gosh, these two boys are fighting over me like kind of vibe. Girl, please. That's so embarrassing.
Oh yeah, like she's a chick magnet, a dude magnet, low key. Maybe chicks too.
God.
We don't know, but probably not.
Not in JK Rowling's
Not in
world.
her world. You're right. But
Nope.
yeah, thinking about it now, when you add these things, it's weird that she hooked herself up with Ron because Rowling herself said that like she thought Harry and Hermione worked better. But then I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, why didn't you do that then? Because I think a lot of
It's your
people would have
story.
agreed. Didn't you write this?
Yeah. Like, babe, it's your story. Just take your little pencil eraser, erase that part out, and then write Harry and Hermione.
Yeah, I think she said like, "Oh, it's what the fans wanted. It's the fan preferred couple." I have no idea why. I don't think Ron and
Mm.
Hermione have any chemistry. Um, they're
I also
constantly
think
fighting with each other, but
yeah, I also don't think that Harry and Ginny have any chemistry, so that was a weird pairing.
no, it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, like Ginny was just like some young girl who had a crush on him, and he was like, ew, I like Hermione. She's like Ginny's like a little
I like
sister to
Cho
me."
Chang.
And then yeah, and then suddenly like he's banging Ginny by the end of
They
everything, and it's
forget
like,
about Ginny
bro,
for like I want to say 3, 4 books.
yeah. And
It's
then
not until the
suddenly
second to
he's
last
marrying
one.
her.
Yeah,
Yeah, that just inconsistency. Plus, if you're like an author and or honestly just like any kind of artist and you cater your specific art to your fans, you're not a good artist.
you're
I'm
a
sorry.
hack.
Like, yeah, you're just doing what the people want so that you keep your title and keep people liking you and your work. And it's like that's not the point of being an artist, in my opinion.
I agree.
Just yeah, it just doesn't feel authentic to me. I would want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly, or see the good, the bad, and the ugly in your work. Like I don't. The whole point of liking somebody and like liking their work is that you can see the good and bad parts of it. Like, not to bring up My Chemical Romance too. Jesus, just bringing up all my old interests, huh? But
We got you dead
they,
to rights, Perry, this episode.
just outing myself as the worst
All
child
the way
growing up.
out.
Yeah, might as well just. That'll be next episode. We'll talk about my DVR. Um, but anyway, talking about My Chemical Romance, they're my favorite band. Have been since I was like 13. But do I love the majority of their work? Absolutely. But can I admit that there were some flops within there? Yes. But that's what I like about them. That's what makes them human and interesting. The die-hard fans that especially are like prevalent with on like Stan Twitter in our time that just like can't admit that their faves are problematic or at least, have flops or do something wrong. It's like, and I don't believe you. Like, I'm not like respecting your opinion. What?
Re-put old interesting quotes.
Damn. called out once again.
Oof, it's not looking good for you this episode.
Oh, my wig, it's gone. But I'm bald right now. It's drafty in here. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but I just don't trust people who will defend their favorite person or artist or celebrity or whatever, like
to the
through and
death.
through. Yeah, like now I just don't believe you and I don't want to see any of the good parts of that person or band that you like. Like now I don't care because now you're like, no, everything they do is amazing. I love My Chemical Romance. Fucking Cubicles sucks. You know what I mean?
I know what you
I can
mean.
admit that. I can admit that. I can admit like that some of the stuff that I love sucks. Or honestly, a majority of it does. I just said I liked 𝐓𝐿𝐴, but like you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
I
then
just
like
don't. I don't. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna run it back to JK Rowling. Like when you built your story around like what the fans want, it doesn't feel like a believable world with believable people in it anymore. Like it just takes me right out because I can see the writer's hand like descending from heaven and moving everyone around like Lego characters. It's like we'll put you two together. It's like, hey.
Oh no! Wait a minute.
That's not where that
Yeah,
was going.
but back to our original point from the long-winded side note. Do you want to talk about the house elves?
Yeah, I think it's that time. Let's talk about the house elf subplot.
Let's
So,
talk about it. You.
for people who don't know, there is a species in Harry Potter universe. They're called house elves. So, these are creatures that rich and powerful wizards can keep as like servants. Um, if they don't complete a command, they are conditioned to physically beat themselves. And what we're told is that they love slavery. Keep in mind, I'm highlighting that because I'm highlighting the fact that we are told this. Okay, so Hermione, JK Rowling's alleged self-insert, um, she thinks this is a problem, as any of us would. This is eerily close to slavery. And she's like, guys, maybe we should let them free and not keep an entire species as indentured slaves. And the reason why I said it's weird is that like she is the only character in these books to have this opinion, and everyone mocks her for it. Um, she creates an organization. It's basically PETA for the liberation of house elves. She, I think I forget what the letters stand for, but the acronym is SPEW, and JK wrote it that way, even though Hermione's supposed to be really smart and clever, and everyone just laughs at her. They're like, "Ha ha, SPEW, your organization sounds like vomit." Also, they're happy being slaves, so like, chill out a little bit, bruh. They treat her as
Yeah.
like a PETA activist, like a your tree loving hippie who's like, yeah, save the rainforest, but like in a mocking way, I guess. And then yeah, the the worst that the books will say about this is treated as completely normal. The worst the books will say about it is that you shouldn't have an house elf if you're an abusive master. Um, but if you're good to them, slavery is totally fine. Um, it's really broken because they go as far as to show as a house elf who has a benevolent, really kind owner, but they were actually trapped in like a loop of self-punishment because they accidentally gave him an impossible order. So even if you're kind, you can still abuse your house elf if inadvertently. Um, it's really fucking weird. JK has said that this is supposed to be an allegory for like the white man's burden, those white liberals, people who want to stop oppression or whatever, but like they don't consider the feelings of the people that they're trying to help. But like your allegory, the closest real life equivalent is slavery, which like
Mm-hmm.
any reasonable person would oppose. So it's really
Yeah.
not smart to have that in your story, and then the one character who thinks that this is wrong, you all make fun of her and treat it like a joke. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't get any kind of resolution. There is not one like reasonable alternative. I say reasonable in quotes because Hermione is the reasonable one, but like there's no character who like does what she does but better, I want to say. She is the only anti uh anti-enslavement character.
Mm-hmm.
And I've
And
seen people try to defend this and say like, "Oh, well, these characters have flaws." But like no, because they clearly don't the books clearly don't see it as a flaw. If anything, they'll
mm-hmm.
say Hermione is flawed.
Yeah. And I think that the whole argument that you were just like mentioning, how they're like, oh no, they like it, like in the books, just kind of reminds me of the argument people make today about actual slavery, where they're like, oh,
Yeah,
well, we gave them a better life than what they had. And it's like, enslaving them
there
was giving
was
them a better life?
there was actual like pro-slave propaganda where they're just like, yeah, see, they're happy. And then
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't believe you because house elves, like I said, they're conditioned to beat themselves uh,
Mm-hmm.
if they don't complete a task. So they're clearly not in control of their minds or their bodies. So, forgive me if I don't think that their happiness isn't also a condition.
Mm-hmm. And like, I hate that argument because it's like the poorest, like, person out there, if they're free, they're happy. But the like person who is the richest, but they're like enslaved or like have these great benefits, they're still enslaved and they're not free. So that makes no sense. That argument, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just one of the many, many fumbles of JK Rowling. I think she's a hack
Mm-hmm.
writer on top of being a
Absolutely.
transphobe. Um,
And let's be real, racist. Cho Chang, her stance on literal slaves in her book.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Something else that was really funny because I saw a tweet that was just like, "Hey, name one of like the craziest examples of like shitty world building in Harry Potter," and I went back to an old favorite. Um, so you know, writers they make mistakes. You don't always account for everything, and that's fine. It happens, but like, that's not the reason why I think uh Joanne is a hack writer. I think she is because like she consistently doubles down and doesn't own up to any of her mistakes because she really wants to be seen as like dare I say clever and really smart, and like she has everything in her back pocket and just fuck you. So Harry Potter the Chamber of Secrets, spoilers for a 20-year-old book, but there is a basilisk that is running through the pipes of Hogwarts, and he's in the bathrooms, he's in the ceiling, he's everywhere. And there was, and he's actually existed for like I want to say thousands of years. So there was someone who asked, how could there be, pipelines in the bathrooms at Hogwarts when this world is completely separate from the non-magic world, and also this was before even muggles had access to indoor plumbing. So what's the deal there? And you know, Perry, if you're a writer, how do you go about addressing something like that? Not to put you on the
Mm-hmm.
spot.
Oh, I just get.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I said, how do you go about addressing something like that?
I was gonna say I And can you rephrase the question? I'm sorry.
Oh, so like a reader asks you, "Hey, why do you have indoor plumbing in Hogwarts when this was before it
Mm-hmm.
was invented in our world, and this is
Oh,
supposed to be
yeah.
a separate world anyway? What's the deal?"
I was gonna say it's fantasy. I can do whatever I want. They're
Honestly,
wizards.
yeah, you could go with that. And honestly, if I was in Joanne's position, I probably wouldn't address it at all. You have the power to do that. And then if I did, I think I'd pretty much throw my hands up in the air and be like, yeah, sue me. I didn't think of everything. Okay? Because this is not
Mm-hmm.
story breaking. This is just like she wasn't as careful as
Yeah.
she could have been about like this world. Um,
Yeah. And if it's like an 8 or 7 books long series, I'm sure not every single little detail was thought through. Like
yeah.
indoor plumbing is not that big of a deal in my opinion, but you're having slaves and racial stereotype characters. That's something you should get right.
This was
That's
still
something.
being built, yeah.
Mhm.
But
Whereas little things like that, I feel like show her inconsistencies in her own writing and stories, but don't explain other things she just completely missed the mark on.
well, it doesn't it actually doesn't end there because she had a different idea in
Mm.
terms of explaining it. She decided to address it, and she said that before the 1700s, when indoor plumbing was invented, wizards just this is a quote, okay? They relieved themselves where they stood and vanished the evidence, meaning that wizards just shot themselves at the street and use magic to clean it up.
Oh God,
There's
at the
a lot of details to unpack here.
that's a horrific thing to say in general. Let alone what
It's
that
really,
has to be. That has to be her fucking with people. To there's no way
I don't
she
think
was
so.
serious with
I'm pretty
that.
sure this was on Pottermore.
Stop it. Are we dead ass?
Yeah,
JK
there's a lot
Rowling.
of details to uncover here. So first of all, like vanishing is supposed to be really hard to do. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Apparently students don't learn it until they're 15, so it makes you wonder what were they doing before that age.
Oh God, did they have to be around their parents all the time?
Hey, or like what if they were alone or like
Oh.
keep in mind like chamber pots, that's like the medieval porta potty, those exist in this world, so she could have easily just explained it using those. um
Mm-hmm.
you could make it so that there's a designated vanisher person who goes around cleaning it. It's not a fun job, but hey, someone's got to do it. You can get house elves to do it. You have them in this world, you might as well use them. uh
Mm-hmm.
you can have enchanted toilets, that do some Minecraft enchantment table type shit. Make it so that they vanish the poo as it enters. Um, but like, there's the final question of like, even if you take for granted that it's that easy to do a vanishing spell, why would you invent indoor plumbing then when you already have such a useful system? It's really gross and
Yeah.
stupid, but like it's efficient.
Yeah. Uh, I don't fucking see her logic half the time, but this was really bad.
This is just like this is why I hate her. Cause like any reasonable writer would just be like, yeah, I didn't think of everything. I kind of wrote this while the world was I hadn't figured out all the details yet, and that's fine. But like she always has to like plug up the holes with stupid shit like this, and then she ends up creating bigger holes. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
supposed to answer one question and it spawned like 17 more. It's it's sad for her, but it's hilarious for me.
Yeah, it makes for good content to shit on her on, unintended, but it's terrible for her writing style and career, and just I don't even fucking know. Just her image.
Uh, and then there's
Just
also just like, yeah, Dumbledore was gay the entire time. It's like, really?
Like, yeah, that's like just such pandering, like being like, oh, I might be transphobic, but no, I'm not. I support the LGBTQ
See,
community.
that
Look, Dumbledore was
that
gay.
character, yeah, he's gay. You got to read about it on Twitter and not from any of my content, but trust me, he's gay.
Next thing you know, she's gonna say that Hagrid was trans the whole time,
Yeah.
and then, but then say like saying that Hagrid is a trans woman would be like, but he chose to keep it secret, like normal people do, and then people would still say she's not transphobic.
Yeah, she'll find some way to ruin it because it's
Oh
already
yeah.
stupid to like confirm after the fact on Twitter, but like she'll she'll keep talking because she never knows when to stop and then she'll find a way to ruin it. It's like even
Jesus.
Dumbledore being gay, like that creates problems because this is your one um Dumbledore, apparently he was gay lovers with some fella named Grindelwald, and
Mm-hmm.
it led to him not stopping him when he had the chance, and he created magic fascism. So it's like, good job.
Oh
Your
god.
one gay relationship led to it's the inciting
Fascism.
incident for your entire series, and then every straight relationship is played as like, oh, it's so beautiful and loving. So you really fucked this one up, didn't you?
uh, she just that seems to be a trend for her. Just
Yeah,
fucking everything up in her own goddamn story.
she just keeps putting her foot in, the old foot in the mouth.
Mm-hmm. Her favorite thing to do. But speaking of putting her foot in her mouth, I'd like to also address the fact that she had wound up like roping Stephen King into this beef.
Stephen King. Oh no.
Yeah. Also, how Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson. First of all, Daniel Radcliffe was the first one of the series to like bring up her points and released a statement. And he said like something along the lines of like he like he had to do the whole like this isn't me attacking her and like painting us as like infighting, like he's basically like I don't even talk to her anymore. Um, and he was like, like she
Yeah.
is responsible for my success and like I appreciate all that she's done for me, but he was like trans women are women, and he was like any statement this is a quote by the way, any statement to the contrary erases the identity and dignity of transgender people and goes against all advice given by professional healthcare associates who have far more expertise on this subject on this subject matter than either Joe or I. Hello, like King. He is just that's what he should have said. You know what I mean? Like, I know like calling him a king is kind of a cop out. Like, I'm praising him for the bare minimum, but at least he brought it up. You know what I mean?
Well, he was on you know, he's basically on her payroll cuz like this is her IP. I think it's I don't know if it's like against his contract or whatever, but like it's really brave to like speak out against her in public like this. I would think so anyway.
Does he still get money from the franchise? I'd figure not, since it's been over for this many years.
Uh but no one really the only reason I would think why he would is if like they still use his likeness or whatever. I don't think so. I think he's done.
Yeah, I think so too. So I mean, this was just my opinion. I feel like he would have done that even if he was still getting royalties or whatever from her. I agree with
Yeah.
you. I think that would be a bold thing for him to do. It was in general, even outside of the franchise, it being over and like outside of the payroll or whatever. Like that was a big and bold thing to do and go up against her that way when he even admitted it in his statement saying she is the reason I'm so famous, like essentially in so many words that's what he said, but like he's still like but fuck her, you know.
Yeah, I heard that like none of the other actresses, or at least most of them, they want nothing to do with Joanne at this point, and I just think that's funny.
Yeah,
They're like, yeah,
even
we don't associate with her. She's cringe.
yep, even Emma Watson said something and was like, nah, like she was like trans people are who they say they are and they shouldn't be questioned. And then like she said she donated to Mermaid's Gender and Mama Cash. I don't know what those organizations are, but apparently have a lot to do with the LGBT community. So also Ron Weasley, his name, God.
It's a Rupert Grint, isn't it?
Grint. Yes, I was like, I know his last name, but I didn't know his first name. Grint. Um, his quote says, "I firmly stand with the trans community and echo the sentiments expressed by many of my peers. Trans women are women, trans men are men. We should all be entitled to live with love and without judgment." So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
literally, the main three stars in her series are coming out and being like, she's fucking stupid. Like,
Yeah.
that should say something. And I don't know how the people who are such fans of this can even see the three biggest stars that they idolize say these things, but still stand with JK Rowling just because she scribbled some notes on a page.
Still feel like, nah. I need more
Yeah,
proof.
exactly. And so back to the Stephen King aspect of it. Apparently, she tweeted something about like gushing over him and like his horror writing, and she deleted it after he tweeted something in support of trans women.
What? That's
Yep.
so petty.
Mm-hmm. It's just and some a fan asked Stephen King to respond to her statement on trans people, and all he said was, "Yep, trans women are women."
And there you go.
And there you have it. It's as simple as
It's
that.
as simple as 4 words. Trans women are women.
And then almost a year later, King mentioned it again, saying that Joe canceled me. She sort of blocked me and all that. Here's the thing: she is welcome to her opinion. I just felt that her belief was, in my opinion, wrong. We have different opinions, but that's life. And it's like, bro, everybody is just saying she's wrong, and people that are fans just still will die on the hill that she's done nothing wrong and that she's not transphobic, and that still supporting like what is it, Hogwarts Legacy, and any new content coming out is justified when clearly it's not.
I wonder how many people have to say she's wrong before people start buying it.
Nobody's gonna buy it because of all the bullshit that's been just perpetuated in the past. Let's be real, 3 years. Like suddenly, I feel like there was this huge divide amongst people when the Black Lives Matter movement, like riot, started, and like obviously we were divided before then. We always have been, like as a country, but something about that I feel like jumped, like started it into social media. Like now suddenly celebrities and random people and news outlets were tweeting these things as well, like on opposite opposing views. So now it's not only reaching everybody but younger generations like ours and below us. So I think it's just becoming more and more of an issue for those reasons as well. Like we're getting further and further divided, and out of nowhere, like people who, let's be real, probably don't know anything about trans people or the LGBTQ community in general, are just riding the bandwagon to own the libs and bullshit like that, and fuck the groomers that are drag queens and trans women who want to use bathrooms and stuff.
They're
When
converting
I
our
feel like
children,
exactly
whatever
when I
that
feel like
means.
back when we were in high school, I didn't see as much of this shit online as I do now.
I think, because you said some of them might not know about like trans people and stuff. I think some of them don't want to because,
Mm-hmm.
um, it could say something about themselves as a person that they're willing to support someone who's like, uh, abetting the oppression of one minority. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they need to protect
Ignorance
the
is bliss.
image. Exactly. They need to protect the image that
Mm-hmm.
like they're a good person, so they can't seek out any information that might reveal that that's probably not the case.
Yeah, because I feel like, especially in our Western society, we have such a trouble admitting when we're like wrong. Like it's almost frowned upon in our society to admit that when you're wrong. So to the point where people will die on a hill even after being presented with facts and being
Mm-hmm.
presented with like like unarguable truths. Like you just can't say anything, but they'll just stick to their guns and fight you tooth and nail, even when being proven wrong.
Yep, they'll cover their ears and go la 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 because they're emotionally attached to their ideas. And then the people in this argument, they're emotionally attached to Harry Potter.
Yeah, and I think people kind of also see their views like, I don't know, like if you disagree with somebody's views, they see it as an attack on that person, and it's like it's only an attack on you if you know the truth yet are still perpetuating lies and don't care and are just willfully ignorant. There's a difference between like actual ignorance and then choosing to be ignorant when you've been provided everything else. Like it's not an attack on you if you genuinely don't know these things and you're not educated on them yet, and then suddenly like somebody does start educating you on these topics and then you continue to double down and be like, nope, that's when they're attacking you. It's never an attack directly on you unless you know it's wrong. Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Unless you make it so.
Exactly. Like if again, like I feel like most people just think like, oh, like the libs, like they'll hate you no matter what you say if you don't agree with them. And it's like, no, come on now. Like, listen, I don't identify with anything personally. Like, I would not call myself a liberal, but I'm definitely not
Mm-hmm.
conservative. You know what I mean?
Nah, nope, nope, nope. If
I
I had to pick one, gun to my head, I'd pick liberal. But
exactly, but I don't align. I think they're just
I
too,
don't appreciate. I think they're too dichotomous.
yeah, and there's issues on both sides and everything in between.
Yep.
So I try not to align myself with anything specifically except for my own views, but I don't need to be like boxed into a specific label. But I just know for damn sure I will never be on the right.
Comes with too much baggage. But yeah, I'm not picking
Yeah,
right if I had to pick one.
exactly, exactly. But now that that's cleared up, just kind of, I think that's another thing. Like to be like, oh, liberals hate you no matter what you say. Like you're always wrong, you know. And it's like, no, it's only when you say things that attack somebody, something that they cannot change about themselves, like who they are born as, and like which includes your gender, your skin color, like your sexuality. Like those are things that you are born with, and yeah, like you could physically change your gender, but who you are inside never changes. So like if you're born a woman but you know inside that you're a man, yes, you can change that, but you always knew you were. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. It's like
So it's a,
no, you're in a room with someone. It's like I can't discriminate against people I don't like. It's like no, no, Barbara. Not even a little? No, Barbara, no discrimination. It's like, wow, so much for the tolerant left. And it's like, no matter what you
wow.
do, it's you're wrong. It's like,
It's just a gross understatement of what the actual issue is. It's just like purposefully, once again, being ignorant. Like it's simplifying something that is so complex by being like, no matter what you say, you're wrong, or like they'll always find fault in your argument. And it's like, no,
yeah,
once you have like know the intricacies of these like arguments and you educate yourself, still willfully ignorant, that's when people will ostracize you and criticize you. Nobody, at least people I know, would criticize somebody for not having that education. Nobody's going to be like, oh, you didn't know this wasn't okay? Fuck you. They would say, oh, you didn't know about this. Let me tell you about it so
let me
you
tell
can
you
learn and
why.
not make the same mistake.
Yeah,
Exactly. Like, nobody's attacking anybody, but everybody takes things personally, especially shit like that. Like, they'll see it as a personal attack. And it's like, no, if you didn't know, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it is because there is something wrong with that. Like, we should be educating, but I understand that in today's society, especially, like, people are trying to silence all of that. So it's like,
yeah, it's
I
easier
understand
for
if you didn't know
misinformation to spread.
exactly and to fall in under like a wrong kind of like into the kind of wrong side of the social media like platforms, you know. So it's easy to be m- miseducated. Is that a word? No, uneducated. Yes.
Uneducated, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, might as well call me that.
Misinformed.
Jesus. Misinformed. I was mixing those two words. Thank you. But I think it's easy to not know about these things. So when somebody does take the time to sit you down and explain these things to you, you should not, going forward, you should not make the same mistake that you had just made. But that's not an attack. That's just informing you. But if somebody like doesn't know these things, and then some random person is like, "Oh, fuck you! You should have known that." It's like, really, it depends. Like, some people genuinely just aren't exposed to these kind of things, and we need
Yeah.
to help them understand in a way that isn't going to make them hate us. Because the second you're mean to somebody, they stop taking you seriously. They don't care what you have to say, even if it's correct.
Even if you're right, exactly.
Even if you're right, they're not going to listen because they're going to think you're attacking them. And there's just better ways to go about these things, in my opinion. But it's completely different. Again, like it's a case by case basis. Not every statement and person is going to be the same. But when it comes to like overall generalized statements, like the ones that we're making right now, I think you got to treat it with kindness at first, until they're willfully ignorant. But treating it with kindness will, in my opinion, give them a better reaction. Like, have them understand that information and take it in more willingly than they would if you were rude to them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You can win them
So,
over easily that way. And if they, they double down, they refuse to learn, then you can take off the kid gloves, because at that point, it's like,
mm-hmm.
what am I doing at this? What are we doing at this point?
Yeah, kill them with kindness. Honestly, it's corny, but it's true.
It is true. I believe in it.
Me too. And um, like we did just get kind of deep here, but I think for good reason, especially with the topic at hand. But I know you and I personally, like, even though we are haters without a cause, and we do hate on people and things, um, I think at the end of the day, you and I are very kind
We
people,
are
and
lovers, not
we
fighters.
are lovers.
Yeah.
Exactly. We hate you if you're willfully ignorant. We don't hate you if you're misinformed.
The hate and love are two sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we are haters with a cause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Today, it's opposite day. We're haters with a cause. Usually, we're haters without a cause, just hating on silly little TV shows and media that we enjoy and point out their flaws. But issues like these, they're too serious to not address in a serious
In a
manner, in my
serious
opinion.
manner, yeah. Get you a
This
podcast that can
guy,
do both.
exactly. This guy, you just get me. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're on the same page.
mm-hmm. Like, not only get you a podcast that can do it all, but get you two people who can do it all.
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
Get you
That's me
the
and you.
perfect co-host.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was destined.
Yeah, and I like total side comment, but just based on the like what we're talking about now. I remember when I was first telling people before we started our podcast, I was like, I'm really excited to do it with Eve, not just because we're such great friends, but we are very different in a lot of ways. We're very similar in a lot of ways, but do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I tell this to people all the time, like there are a lot of like superficial things that like me and Perry are complete opposites on. Like I would say our demeanors are almost opposite, but like um, you know, we might laugh at different things, we have different opinions on some things, even though for like 99% of the time we're on the same page. But
mm-hmm,
someone could be like, okay, so why does it work then? But it's because it's like there are a lot of core fundamental things that we see exactly eye to eye on.
mm-hmm.
Um,
And especially coming from very different backgrounds as well, and like we kind of have a little bit of everything, in my opinion. Like, I'm non-binary and trans and
yeah,
gay, like, so, and that's like stuff that I feel like we kind of learned together when we were in college. Like, we kind of grew in those like topics together. And I'm not religious, but Eve is very religious.
yeah, stuff like that. It's like I'm not, I'm not non-binary or gay and stuff like that, but like because of Perry, I can know a little bit about that world, not everything, but
Mm-hmm.
and they're all minorities, There's some
Mm-hmm.
solidarity there.
Yeah.
And we have a lot I think we have very good chemistry. Um
Yeah, I agree.
we we stay having really good talks, really consistently good talks, whether they're deep or not. Um
Mm-hmm.
I was telling someone recently about the the talk we had back in freshman year about like XXX Temptation after he died. And I was just like, man, like even back then, like very we were on the same wavelength.
Yeah, like before I feel like we even got as close as we are now, we were just always like we're calling out these ridiculous things, being like, bro, what? Like
Yeah,
that makes no
we were in
sense.
the same realm.
Always. And I think that's just what like built up our friendship and gave us a solid foundation to start building it up. But we recognized that very early on. We were like, we kind of have some very similar opinions on things.
Yeah. We go
Yeah.
about things in very similar ways. Same general views on life.
And despite how different we are, and you know the different backgrounds we both come from, and overall though, we know what's up.
We do know what's up. It's you could call it a strange match, but it works. It just
hmm
works.
From the outside looking in, you wouldn't think it works, but then when you're in, you know it works.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm glad we were addressing this because I was hoping we would bring this up in one of our early episodes, so people who are listening or that might not know us. I feel like a lot of our listeners are people who know us, but for those who don't or those in the future who won't, I'd like them to get a bit of a background on us as well,
Yeah, some
like just know
history.
who we are as people. Yeah, we'll go in. We can have a whole episode one day where we just talk about the whole lore of Perri and Eve becoming friends, but I did want to
Oh
just
yeah.
mention that too, while we're on a serious note. But
Yeah, me
and I
too.
think,
Glad we brought it up.
hey, it led to this. Yeah, it led
Mhm.
to this. It led to haters without a cause, and that's all that
Yeah, it
matters. That
did.
was the start of it all.
It was
hmm
the impetus.
Shout out to Arcadia University for bringing us together, and the graphic design department.
Yeah, shout out to them. And shout out to
Mhm.
JK Rowling, for bringing about this talk. Who know
Yeah, we had to get
who would have
serious.
known that she would bring people together?
Ah, she usually just divides them, but she brings people together through hate. We all hate
Our
her,
shared
and
hate
that's
for
what brings us
her.
closer. Haters with a cause.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm glad we talked about that and got kind of serious. So we can go back to hating on her and being silly again because I know our past few episodes have just been more about like shows and like cartoon kind of media. So it was just easy to joke around that whole time. But I think issues like this, we do need to take minutes to be serious and talk about how crazy they are. Now let's get back to dunking on that bitch.
All right. Um it's really weird when you think about like how her books are all about like unity and tolerance,
mm-hmm.
but it's like now I think of it, she doesn't even represent that well in her books either.
Mm-hmm. She like they're all talking about like coming out on the other side and defeating evil and doing all of that. And look, like I did like Harry Potter growing up, and like there is still part of me that like feels that connection to it because of how much I liked it when I was younger. I wasn't like a stan, like I didn't really like read the books or anything. I'll be so honest, but I did watch all of the movies and I did play some of the games as a kid. But I don't know. It's just I don't. I understand why it got so big, but I also don't because it's really, really basic at its core.
Yeah, it doesn't I'm trying to be objective because I was a hardcore like Harry Potter, I guess stan you could call it. But like
Hmm.
I don't know what made this one stand out from like other fantasy series, you know what I mean? Or even just
Exactly. That's
YA
exactly what I was
novels
saying.
like Hunger
Yeah.
Games
That's.
and like Hunger Games got big, but like it doesn't have nearly the same amount of like lasting staying power as Harry Potter.
hmm Exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to say. And to like that point, though, I think that was a very popular genre at the time. Like when we were growing up, it was the whole like victory and like freedom and fighting, like Hunger Games and Divergent and Harry Potter, and like the group of like ragtag group of kids, found family, that kind of stuff.
I
And
think
I think it.
I think that's what drew
Go ahead,
people
sorry.
in. I didn't mean to cut you off,
Mhm.
but I think that's what drew people in. It was just like three kids, living their best lives at
Mhm.
magic school. And
Mhm.
a lot of the, interaction between these three characters, they are fun to watch. So, I guess what loses me is like the whole like the dark wizard stuff and like everything having to do with Voldemort. I feel like if every book was just these three kids going on adventures and they stop a threat or whatever and then it's the end of the year. I don't know. I think that could work. I think you could do without
Mhm.
the big grand story.
Mhm. Yeah. I look. I don't know what it's like to write. I'm no author. I'm no writer, and I don't know what it's like to world build and like make a story in the way, especially not a fantasy in a fantasy setting. But I kind
Mm-hmm.
of agree. It's like they could have just been three friends hanging out, and it still would have made a great story in a fantasy setting. It didn't have to try to be more than what it is, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, just keep
Mm-hmm.
it like on the down low. Man, I think we need to bring back like low stakes, like slice of life stories. This is
Mm-hmm.
probably like
I
another
believe.
tangent, but I feel like stories now just want to be like they want to be the next grand epic adventure. Like every animated
Mm-hmm.
show wants to be Avatar, every book wants to be, I guess, Harry Potter. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason why I love at least the first season of The Owl House, because it's
Mm-hmm.
just this girl living in like a magical setting, and she's just having the time of her life with her friends, and it's just high school, and she's going on adventures while also training
Mm-hmm.
to be a witch. And then when we get to season two, and like the plot thickens, and it starts getting deeper, and there's all this lore and backstory, and there's like a conspiracy brewing. That's when my eyes kind of like tend to glaze over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to accept that this is just a me thing, but I really like, character interaction and like just buddies chatting with each other and, going on adventures and having a ball.
Oh, I completely agree with you. I think there absolutely should be more media that's just like that. Like, just not everything has to be the next big hit. Not everything has to be the next big blockbuster. You know what I mean? And it, like, it's just nice to have like a story that maybe a couple, even like a couple 100,000 people like. It doesn't have to be millions of people, but you have such a dedicated fan base that it makes it real, and then you can world build and keep the story going for years and years without like fear of losing its hype, because you have those dedicated fans and you can just do what you want without having to add these intricate and random things so that people like are shocked and stay involved, and it stays at like the number one hit or like movie or show. Whereas like I love shows that are like that, where they're long, and we've seen less and less of that recently. Like less shows just like having 9 seasons. Like that just is unheard of anymore. Most seasons now are like 1 to 3, if you get that. A lot of shows now recently are getting canceled at the 1 or 2 season mark because people just binge it and are over it, and there's no, like
And
you
they
said,
get
like world
bored.
building. Or like NPC interaction, or like characters just living their lives, like having a daily interaction. Like not everything has to be a great adventure, and today they're doing this, and today there's this drama. Like I loved shows where it just showed them like having a bad day at work, and then they come home and talk to their friends about it. Like that feels real and normal. Not
Yeah,
everything
it's
has to be,
interpersonal.
yeah, and it does like build those relationships within the story that draws you in and makes you care about these characters.
I feel like there's an insecurity that like the audience will get bored if there isn't like actions and like explosions. Because
Hmm.
I was talking about it I think last week with Ann and Steven about the MCU. I was saying I
Mm.
really want a story about just like people who lived during the snap period where just like half the
Hmm.
universe was gone, and just make it be about like some guy. He lost the love of his life and he has to learn how to like move on without her. Maybe he tries dating again, and all of a sudden everyone comes back, and his wife is who we thought was dead is back, and it's like, man, like what happens now? But like they would never have the balls to do that because it's really like on one hand it's really bleak and sad, but then on the other hand you would have to have a lot of quiet scenes. You can't have big CGI battles. You can't have
Hmm.
like superheroes flying in and beating stuff up. It's like, ugh, I
Hmm.
really want that, but they'd never do it. I'm like
And
daydreaming. What if it's like an anthology, like every episode follows a different person? That'd be so cool.
hmm that would be really cool. And like to your point of, I feel like you're right. Like these writers think, oh, we have to have these dramatic things to keep people interested and keep their attention, because especially in this day and age, like everybody has a low attention span because everything's so fast and
Yeah, the
accessible and quick.
TikTok generation.
Exactly. And as much as I do love convenience, and I am an internet person, I love the convenience and I love things fast. I'm a very impatient person. I think when it comes to art, you don't rush it. We need to
Yeah,
bring back that yeah, we need to bring that slow media, that slow build up, that slow burn that goes on for seasons and seasons, or sequels, and or like a long 2 hour movie that isn't just full of action. It's just like up and down, and or even just like down and then up and then down again.
take
Just
time, let these things breathe.
mhm. Exactly. Let these characters grow and their relationships grow in ways you weren't expecting, because you gave it time. You didn't rush it. Like, there's plenty of shows out there that lasted for over 5 seasons where like the writers will say, we didn't even expect this to happen. Or, like, this wasn't like day one we had this plan, but we like how it grew as time went on. You don't get that anymore because people are writing one season at a time and are expecting it to maybe be canceled after that. You don't get to world build and add these like personalities to these characters anymore.
Yeah, I feel like the writers that like their priority is making a good story before making like a something that appeals to everyone and gets really big. Like they're the ones that make something like truly special. Cause
Mm-hmm.
Avatar, uh, yeah, we're talking about Avatar again. It's a good fucking show. Um,
Leave us alone.
it did something that like no other cartoons were really doing at the time. Like it was an epic. Um,
Mm-hmm.
every episode is it was really unique because um every episode is self-contained. Like you can watch one because you know how
Mm-hmm.
now everything ends on a cliffhanger because they're made for streaming
Yep.
services. So it's got to
Mm-hmm.
get you like watch the next episode, get excited for the next season. And
Mm-hmm.
if you nail the formula, you can just keep it going whether or not the show is any good. Like look at Riverdale. Um
Absolutely. And listen, I love Euphoria, but Euphoria. Like, it's the
13 Reasons
absolute.
Why.
Yeah,
It's
you're
the
right. Like, it's
Riverdale
the
effect.
the story can suck, but because they keep adding drama and cliffhangers, you get invested. Like, I there are so many characters and things that I like now that I would just love to see the boring case, and I would love to see them years later, or how they grow up together. Like you said, like in Avatar, like you watch them grow up together, and you watch their relationships change and
Yep,
form. And
yep.
same with Korra. Yeah, we're talking about Korra too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even by season 4, they show their lives 3 years later. Like, I kind of liked that. I liked that it showed them like even older than when they started. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, they like 17 when it started. So it's just like, here's them at 17, then 18, then 19, then 20. No, it went like all the way until they were now 23, like about to hit their mid 20s, and you're seeing like their dynamics change and them grow up as people. It's interesting, and it makes you care about them.
Yeah, and then someone could be like, "Well, Avatar had a big grand story too," but it's like, yeah, but that was in the background. It
Yeah.
was pretty much a vehicle, an excuse to like go from place to place and travel around the world and meet all these people, you know.
Hmm.
A lot of the scenes in Avatar is like just them flying, and like you can be
Yeah.
like, that's not exciting, but like the conversations they have though.
Yeah. And like there are those moments, like you said, that like they're just doing nothing or meeting new people and going swimming or learning like the
Mm-hmm.
basics of bending. They're not like having these big bending battles all the time. Like they're just learning the basics and learning like about new people and their friends and whatnot. And just keeping that going, like you said, the fact that Aang had to defeat the Fire Lord was always in the background. Like they did mention it here and there. Like they would be like, "Oh, you got to get ready to battle the Fire Lord," but it wasn't like one season where it started out with them like Aang learning that, and then he ended it with like battling the Fire Lord, and that's like all he did the entire time. Throughout the series, yeah,
Exactly.
he's fighting and training for it, but he's also cultivating relationships with all these people. You're learning about their backstories, you're learning about where they came from, their lives, like stuff that has nothing to do with the fact that Aang has to defeat the Fire Lord and save the 100 Year like war. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's in a way it's like it's serialized, but it's like episodic at the same time because each episode is its own story. Like you can stop at any place and you'll be satisfied because there's no cliffhanger.
And I like that. I agree with that. Like how each episode, like, well, at least most episodes, unless they're like a
Unless
two-parter,
they're
where
a
you can just
two-parter.
watch them. Yeah, where you can just watch them outside of like in not in chronological order, and it'll still make sense, and you'll still understand most of the story going on.
Yeah, I mean, what is the fan favorite episode of Avatar? It's Tales of Ba Sing Se, and that's just like everyone
Mm,
just chilling out and having fun around this city. You know, you have
mm-hmm.
Toph and Katara, they bond going to the spot together. And, he's still looking for Appa. That's in the background, but that leads him to
Yeah.
this zoo. And it leads to him,
Mm-hmm.
like, helping people, because that's what he does. Um, my favorite
Mm-hmm.
one is actually not Iroh's, it's Momo's, just because of how sad it is. Because Momo is the one, you laugh because it has funny moments too, but, like, Momo is the one who's actually looking for Appa. And
Please, I don't want to think about him holding his little tuft of hair around
yeah,
his
in his
wrist.
footprint. He's like
Yeah.
he knows he was here.
Oh.
Yeah, and then Zuko going on an awkward date with a girl. It's like
Oh, yeah.
there is no action and people love it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then even the things with Iroh, like, yeah, that was dramatic, but it showed you a different side of him. Like, it's not like they were just like, oh, yeah, by the way, his son died. Anyway, let's move on. They bring it up later and show just how much he loved his son and this sad moment of, a father grieving his child. Like, he's no longer an evil Fire Nation dictator. He's now somebody, like a person who had a child and feelings.
I'm gonna say that little bit of the episode, Iroh's story, that tells you everything you need to know about that character. Because
Yep.
he's just someone who tries to do good wherever he can. He's trying to make up for, all his warmongering that he used to do. And
Mm-hmm.
he just does it for its own sake.
Yeah, and without that episode, we would have never seen that side of him. Like, if it
Yeah,
was just that, like, formulated script of how, like, series are nowadays, we would have never seen those backgrounds, those characters, and them just doing life, like, day to day, boring life shit, or stuff that seems minuscule, but to that character is just so important.
so
And it gives
important.
you, yeah, and it gives you that background to them. And that care and that love for the series and the show and the characters, because now it's not just Aang and Katara and Sokka and Toph. Like it's like Uncle Iroh and then these random one-off like
Zuko.
teachers, Zuko, yeah, and then like May, like there's just Suki, like all these like technically background characters that you love just as much as the main ones.
I'm gonna say like if you have good characters, you can put them in any situation and it'll be interesting. Like even just like I would watch the gang go to shopping at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even
Just
kidding. I'd watch Azula and May and Tylee go shopping.
yeah, just like I would too. That's kind of like what their beach episode was like. Like they just
Yeah,
sent them to the beach, and
another
I
fan
love like that.
favorite.
I was just gonna say that's also one of my favorite episodes because it just adds more nuance to their characters in the series. It's all these little teeny tiny things that make this bigger picture and these like relationships grow and within the series. And you're right, like I would watch those bitches do anything because they're hilarious, and I love their characters because they took the time to build it up.
To craft them. Yeah. This is
Mm-hmm.
like this is basically our villain team, and the setting for the episode is let's watch them try and act like normal teenagers. And it's
Mm-hmm.
hilarious and also sad,
Yep.
especially Azula, I'd say.
Yeah, because you see her trying to act like you said normally, and she just doesn't know how. She's been so spoiled and secluded and privileged her whole
Yeah.
life. She doesn't know how to live among the people.
It
You know.
just highlights like damn, like her father like damaged this girl.
Yeah, because you always think. Well, not even think you. They always show. We're just getting into Avatar, but
We're just
you
talking
know.
about Avatar at this point.
I've
Fuck
said
it.
all I need to say about freaking JK Rowling.
Yeah.
But anyway, it like they get into these intricacies. And, like we all knew that obviously Fire Lord Ozai hurt Zuko. It's literally shown on his face every time you see that character. But you don't. What isn't shown is how much he also hurt Azula until those little moments.
Yep. And when Boiling Rock, when she says that she's a people person, we know that's not true because we've seen her interact with people, and
Mm-hmm.
she's antisocial. What she means is that she's good at like reading them and manipulating them. And I
Mm-hmm.
love this about the third season. There are so many like little moments sprinkled that kind of foreshadow her descent into madness, basically. And then in
Mm-hmm.
Sozin's comment, you just see it all just come to a head. Um, that moment where Katara finally beats her, and she just starts screaming and crying, and
Mm-hmm.
you just see it all come out. That like underneath
Oh,
this monster is just like this little girl that just wasn't loved properly, and
yeah.
she's just letting go of all of that pent up rage and emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
really
And
something to watch, and you actually feel bad for her, even though she's been nothing but trouble the whole series.
mm-hmm. And like
That is good writing.
yeah, same thing with the beach episode. Like she mentions how even her mother knew she was a horrible person, like deep down. And yeah, she makes a joke of it, like being like, she was right, ha ha ha. But like you can tell that's just her coping with the
You can,
fact that even
yeah,
her mother didn't care for her.
it hurt. It hurt.
Yeah, no matter how horrible she was, like you said, you just still felt bad for her because they took the time. I'm gonna keep reiterating this. They took the time to write out these characters and flesh out their lives and get like care for
Make
them
us
and
care.
yes and appreciate them the way that we do. So just good writing. They should have. They should have. Or J.K. Rowling should have taken notes from. Even though Harry Potter came
Mike and
first.
Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, even though Harry Potter came first,
she's
she's
still she's taking notes
she's
from the
she's still
future.
sort of taking notes. Mm-hmm. And I think honestly, writers today should take notes based on these old series. Like my favorite show is How I Met Your Mother, and I know that's kind of a corny older show, but like
It's
just for
good
example,
though.
because they take there's 9 seasons long, and they take the time to flesh out each character and show their lives progress together and show how they grow up together and even have flashbacks because they have enough time to show that shit. They have enough time to show who they were before the like as we knew them.
Yeah, I'm
It's
gonna just
just
say it's not even about the number of seasons. It's just the quality of
hmm
writing. Because Riverdale is on its what, like seventh season now, and you still don't care
really.
about any of the characters.
I couldn't name you one character. Like I know Cole Sprouse is in it, but I don't know the name. What is it? Jughead?
He's Jughead,
So I can name you
and
one
then
character, but
KJ
that's
Appa
literally it.
is Archie.
Never even heard of him.
But like, yeah, they're not like characters. They're like props basically. They put
Yeah,
them in
for
these
just
crazy scenarios.
or horrible storytelling. The only quote I also know from that show is then you just don't know the epic highs and lows of high
Oh
school
yeah,
football.
yeah, yeah. It's
I actually
I've dropped out of the fourth grade to run drugs to support my nana. And unironically, like KJ Alpha, he goes, then you haven't experienced the triumphs and defeat, the epic highs and lows of high school football. He told you
I
he
think
had to
about
be
that
a drug.
probably more than I should.
He's saying how he had to become a drug dealer at 9 years old, and he's like, yeah, but football though.
Yeah, but have you ever been tackled in center field?
Clearly not.
I get
And
it, you were
then
slinging heroin.
you're lying though, because that's not the only quote you know. You know the one. In case you haven't noticed, I'm
What
weird.
else?
I'm a weirdo.
Oh, I'm different. Yeah,
Have
I've
you
never
ever
seen you
seen me
without
without
this
this
hat.
stupid hat? That's weird.
That's weird.
That's from 𝐒𝐂𝐈𝐌𝐿𝐿.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I do know two quotes. It's
Lots of
hilarious.
meme lines from Riverdale.
Mhm.
I'm sure I could find
But that's what
more
I'm
if I talk
saying.
about it
Like,
with Jess.
mhm. There's not even like it's not even like they were funny, so people remember them, or like it was something that wasn't supposed to be a meme but got turned into one. It was just bullshit that they knew was going to be ridiculous and taken ridiculously. They wanted to stick to you, but people don't remember it as like, oh, Riverdale was that great show that had that one corny line. People are like, I don't even fucking know that show, but I know those corny lines because they suck so bad.
Yeah, you can't name anything that happens in that show.
No, I couldn't tell you a single thing except for the hat thing and the epic highs and lows of high school football.
Don't forget the sex. Lots of teenage sex in that show with adult
Really?
actors.
Oh, the same shit happens in
They're
Euphoria.
supposed
It
to be
just
high
should
school.
not be
Oh
normalized.
yeah, you're right. I don't know why
Yeah,
people keep doing that.
yeah, no. Like I liked Glee growing up because they didn't show shit like that. Like, yeah, they like said it and alluded to it, but they never actually showed them like in positions and like doing these things, like showing the full act. It's like,
Because you
I don't
don't
need to
need
see
to.
teenagers. Yeah, I don't need to see teenagers doing that. If you want to write and show sex in your shows that badly, make them in college
Just
at
make them
least.
adults. It's
Make
a
them older.
really simple fix.
Yeah, either make them adults or if you still want it again in like a school setting, make them in college or make them in grad school. We'll still
Yeah,
get the picture. Yeah,
if you're
they
really
don't have to be
clever,
teenagers.
if you're a really clever, not like JK Rowling, but you can imply a sex scene without showing it. Just like cut to the next scene with them,
Mhm.
I don't know, coming out of the shower or making breakfast, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that's honestly a more like artistic way to show it. Like I don't need to see people panting on
I
screen
think
and
that's
having a whole thing.
smarter.
Like I know what they're doing. I know what happened. I don't need to see
It's
it.
like, I get
I
it, guys. I get it, guys. I don't need to see it. I think it says something that
Yeah.
you want me to see it. It's really weird.
Yeah, and it says something that like half the time they pick like these super hot and like actors that are older, way older than 16 and
Yeah,
17. Like I think Alexa Demi is her name, who plays Maddie on Euphoria, and I think she's 30 and she plays a 17-year-old girl. And it's like the reason she's like shown having sex and like all these like positions whatever is because she's 30. It's not because she's 17 years old and acting like a 17-year-old, you know what I mean?
yeah, I get it. You want to see hot people doing hot things, but like,
Yeah,
just don't set it in high school.
yeah, exactly. And like go for it. Like as long as they're not underage, go for it. It's a weird concept, and it's not to talk about Avatar again, but it's also something that like Avatar was innocent in that way, where like they would show them
Oh yeah,
kissing.
Avatar did this better. The scene with Sokka
Hmm.
in the tent.
Yeah, with Suki, where he was going to, or yeah, Suki was going to meet Sokka in his tent, and obviously they were going to share a passionate night together, because he had candles and rose
They
like
were gonna
petals, and he
hold
was
hands the whole
holding
night.
exactly. and he had like a rose in his mouth. But Zuko walks in instead and is like, "Oh, am I interrupting something?" And he's like, "No, you're good, you're good."
And
Like
then
shit
after
like
he
that.
leaves, he's like, "Hey, Suki."
Suki.
And Zuko's still
Like,
there.
yeah,
That's
like
like, we get
that's
it. We know what they
funny.
were gonna do. And it doesn't take away from like the
Exactly.
seriousness of the scene either, because he's explaining how his
Mhm.
mom died.
Yeah, like that's funny. And like we knew what was gonna happen. I don't need to see Suki and Sokka going at it. They're a bunch of teenagers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't. It's fine. It's fine. I get it.
Yeah, we understand. And I I also like again, totally unrelated like to what our video topic is about, but do you know the show You on Netflix?
Yeah.
So the new season just came out, and Penn Badgley, who plays the main character Joe in that series, just recently, because people have noticed in this season there's no more sex scenes. Like they allude to it, they show the before, they show the
Oh,
after, but
yeah.
they don't show the act anymore. And Penn Badgley commented on it and said, like in an interview, like he was done doing sex scenes because he has a wife and it was starting to make him uncomfortable, and he respects his marriage, and he said, I would just prefer to not do them in my career out of respect for my wife and my marriage. And people flipped. They were like, what? You can show yourself being a murderer, but you can't show yourself having sex, like blah blah blah. And it's like, because
They don't show
we
that
know he's
either in
not a
this season.
murderer, but yeah. And exactly. Wow, that's a good point. And like we know he's like a he's not murdering people out in real life, but we know he's most likely having sex. Like, so it's different. Like, his wife watching the show isn't going to be thinking, maybe my husband is stabbing people, but she's going to watch him
Yeah,
having a sex scene with some woman,
they're
and
in
that's
different realms, okay? We understand that, right?
exactly. Yeah, like I don't understand how people were making that connection. Like his wife is gonna see him jumping on some girl and be like, "Damn!" Like I can picture that happening. She's not gonna be able to picture him actually killing somebody. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
we
and
can, we all
again,
can know.
they don't
We all
show
know the
the killing.
difference. Yeah, we know the difference between murder and sex, right? People like we
We're not
know.
going
Like it
there,
was
are
just a
we?
it was a horrible argument. And then people kept being like, oh, this generation's so sensitive, they don't even want to see sex scenes anymore. And it's like, that wasn't the argument at all.
That is
It
not what,
wasn't.
yeah.
They just love to blame our
This was
generation
about
for
his
everything.
wife. It was about his
Yeah,
wife.
it was his choice. It wasn't the fans' choice, but the people who were supporting him and, having body autonomy and were like, hey, yeah, he should be able to portray what he wants. And then people were like, well, that's his job. If it's written that he has to have sex, he shouldn't have signed up for the job. And it's like, he did it the past 2 seasons, but now it's bigger and he has more of a say in the show and what goes on. He should be able to stop doing something he's not
Yep,
comfortable with.
yep, yep.
And like,
And
oh, like,
personally, I'm not gonna take the position of like, you signed, so you must bone this other actress on camera. But that's
yeah,
just me.
I completely agree. I don't see that argument either. Like, I see that more than the murder and sex thing, but I just don't agree with it. I'm like, even if he did sign up for it, he can change his mind. He's still a fucking person. He's not just a fictional character. He's a real life man.
Yeah, we're getting into very shaky territory here when it comes to like consent. When you say
Mm-hmm.
stuff like he has to do it because he signed. Hmm.
It's like, okay, well, does he though? Like,
You have
if
that
anybody,
opinion over there.
yeah, like if any other person no, normally can quit their job at any moment, why can't he? Why can't he get out of this? Like, yeah, he might have a license or like a deal, and I was gonna say licensing deal. I'm watching too much Shark Tank. Like, he might have a deal and like a contract with them that he would be hard to get out of, but he still should be able to if he starts becoming uncomfortable with whatever the show starts to become. And fucking, not to like praise the writers for the bare minimum or the directors for the bare minimum, but good for them for saying, yeah, sure, we'll do that for you.
Yeah, and let's be honest, they're not firing him over that. He's like the
Oh
face of
no,
that show.
he is the show.
He is the
And
show.
yeah, so I don't know.
And
It's
if he
just
doesn't want to have sex, he can do whatever he damn well pleases at this point. That show is huge. That brings in the big
exactly. And
bucks
with
for Netflix.
Without him, it's nothing. And I think you is a good, not a good, but a better kind of example of what we were talking about earlier about how now we're seeing like Joe's past. Like in season two, we were seeing who he became and why he became it. And like now we're learning these other things about him and seeing new things about him because there's been what is it, 3 seasons now?
3, yeah. This is the
Yeah.
4th.
Yeah. So like through those 3 seasons, like we've been seeing him in these different situations and growing and whatnot, and well, not growing into something very good, but trying to, and in his fucked up logic as a character, like you're seeing all these different stages of his life, and because they have had the time to work out that story and write that character, they've been able to do it. But
I agree.
yeah, but I was gonna say we did get quite off topic. We did mention some fantastic points, but we did get a bit off topic.
I think
But
it's fine.
I agree. Listen, it's our podcast.
We
We're
could do
gonna get
whatever the
off
hell we
topic.
want. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
you don't
gonna
have
go
to
on
stick to just one
tangents.
thing.
And
Mm-hmm.
we I don't know. I think the stuff we talked about was worthwhile.
I agree, and I think it added to our original points of just storytelling and relationships in general.
We talked about like what good stories did, and it like
Yeah.
when you talk about what Harry Potter's lacking, it made us appreciate what
Mm-hmm.
we like in other stories more.
And what good authors did that JK Rowling didn't do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I know we're approaching the end of the stream, so I was gonna mention once again, fuck JK Rowling. Don't support her. Don't condone her. Harry Potter can still be nostalgic, but really think about what's important to you when you're supporting people like this in this day and age.
Yeah, have a look back, try and look back without bias and be like, is this
Mm-hmm.
really worth it?
Yep. And yeah, I think we said everything that at least I wanted to say. And once again, this was a lovely conversation with you, Eve, and I appreciate everybody who listened and gave us comments in real time, and let us know our original technical difficulties. So sorry for again, but appreciate the people listening that could catch that for us before we got too far in.
Oh yeah, thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Bridget. Shout out to our moderator, your moderator and mine, Bree.
Free,
Thanks a lot.
yeah, yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in and giving comments again, and thank you all for listening. Who are listening, later on, for bearing with us and still supporting us and showing up. We appreciate it more than you know, and we're just getting better and better as time, and we're growing as time goes on. Like a good character would.
Yeah, this is
But
character development.
uh-huh. But as you guys know, we stream every other Sunday at 3 p.m. and we'll see you at the next one. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in to Haters Without a Cause.
See you next time, everyone. Bye bye.